Sups up everyone, Hu Tao is overrated. That's a blanket statement. Whether it's correct or not, let's put that on pause for now. What we really need to do before we continue in this video is define what we mean by overrated. Some people interpret overrated as saying a character is flat out bad and is being said to be good. However, truly, in their honest forms and performance and stats and everything, they're truly bad. Meaning, by saying Hu Tao is overrated is simply to say in all honesty that she is bad. That is one way to define how some people interpret overrated. Another way to interpret overrated is to say a character is hyped up more so than their actual performance would lead them to be. Meaning that a character can be extremely good, but some people would then even push beyond that and say they're god tier or a must pull. Case in point being, let's say Yelan, right? Yelan could be a character that a lot of people would say, well, she is amazing and you should definitely pull for her. She's arguably just as good as Kazuha, if not better. Now that might be bordering the line of overrating her, because while Yelan is insane and she offers a lot of utility as well as damage for a lot of team comps, it's hard to rival Kazuha in terms of usefulness simply because that Yelan as a character has yet to fulfill her entire duty in the game, unlike Kazuha, who is a more fleshed out character. So by saying that and comparing them in that way and then arrive at the conclusion saying that Yelan is on Kazuha's level, if not even better, by definition, stat wise, you are overrating Yelan's potential and performance. So these are two separate ways of defining what we mean when we say a character is overrated. Today, I am leaning towards that second one, meaning that I'm saying Hu Tao is great, she's a good character. Note that I'm not saying she's great, I'm not saying she's amazing. She's a good character, she's a very good character, in fact, I can say that. But she is not superb or amazing. She has a defined role in the game, she has things that she's extremely good at, and much like C6 Bennett is taboo, Hu Tao being like the best character available to us in the form of the DPS hasn't really been true for a good part of a year now, if not a little longer than that. Think back to the era, if you guys weren't playing this game back in 2021, February, March, you don't really know what it felt like to be a part of the Li Yue Big 3 era. Now, Li Yue Big 3 kind of expanded far beyond what it used to be, with characters such as Yelan coming out and now Yao Yao. Who's to say there's not like a Li Yue Big 4, 5, 6, right? Or maybe the Li Yue Big 3 was an era that kickstarted this whole Li Yue character phenomenon. Hu Tao, by all account, is still a top tier character. Top 5? No. Top 10? Maybe. Now, if you look at all the characters that are available in the game, top 10 doesn't sound that impressive, and that's exactly why I'm making this video. While now there are people sitting there scrunching up their fists ready to type the meanest comment conceivable to man for me even posing the idea that Hu Tao is not a top 5 character in the game. You guys have to understand that Hu Tao is a DPS character. We have to stop holding on to these old notions of Genshin 1.3, 1.4 ways of thinking when it comes to evaluating a character's potential and value in the game. DPS characters are so widespread in Genshin that more than half of the 5 stars released are DPS units in some way, shape, or form. We don't have really a shortage of DPS characters. So continuing to say that characters such as Hu Tao are atop the best available to the player base is disingenuous for people who are asking for advice. Now, going forward, I'm going to point out a couple key pointers on why I believe that there's this craze and phenomenon when it comes to some of these top tier DPS characters, Ganyu being another one. In fact, I'm actually running a poll on my channel here, which is a multi-series poll, and I'm going to find out likely who is the most overrated character. So far, Hu Tao is leading that chart, and it's not by coincidence. Let me explain. When you evaluate a character such as Hu Tao, how should you go about doing it? What is the baseline? What are the criteria? How do you know if a character is overrated or not? A metric that I like to use is input versus output. How much do you put into a character versus how much do you get out of a character? And then we look at the community consensus. When you go ask people, what do you think of Hu Tao? Most people say, oh, she's a good unit. How would you rate Hu Tao? How many people would rate Hu Tao in S tier? right? Comment down below. If you were rating Hu Tao as a character, just no questions asked, no additional information, just rate Hu Tao as a character in Genshin Impact. You can rate her appearance, you can rate her whatever, her rapping skills. What tier is Hu Tao? I'm gonna be honest with you guys, most people would categorize Hu Tao as an S tier DPS unit. Some might put her down in A tier, right? Now you gotta look at how much you gotta put into this character to make her work. Now, when I talk about investment, I'm talking about the resin for her artifact. I'm talking about the primo gems for her weapon, or no primo gems. You run her as a free-to-play weapon, then you're maybe saving some costs. Are you running her with constellations, right? Even when it comes to talents, Mora, everything you can think about. How much are you putting into this character? And then look at the output. How much can she dish out when it comes to damage? What about overworld? What about her field time? What about flexibility, utility? Everything combined. And I've consolidated it for you. When it comes to Hu Tao, there's a huge split between the community between C0 Hu Tao versus C1 Hu Tao, which is already not good when it comes to input. Meaning some people would say and argue that you can't really play Hu Tao unless you have C1. Now that's not necessarily true, and I've said it in the past, there are workarounds. However, there are people who believes that. Now then we go look at a character like Yelan. Is Yelan playable at C0? Or is there a huge debate amongst the community between Yelan and C0? What about Alhaitham? What about Nahida? What about Kazuha? What about Zhao? Ito? Yoimiya? Look at all these other characters that are available in the game. If you want to compare Hu Tao with DPSs, you can even compare her to the Liyue Big 3. Zhao, Hu Tao, and Ganyu. Out of these three characters, who would you say needs their C1 more, or who has the more valuable C1, or who has more incentives for players to go for C1, right? If you look at it from this perspective, then you'll quickly understand where we're getting at here is that Hu Tao is a character that's already looking to be expensive to build. And when it comes to her weapons, she does have some, well, I guess air quote free to play, because you still have to summon for them. There are free to play-ish weapons such as the Black Cliff Polearm that you could use for her, but that's digging very far down the list. When it comes to someone who's new like Alhaitham, who's just released, or someone like Zhao, their polearms are much more free-to-play friendly. Meaning that's another thing that a lot of people attack onto Hu Tao and saying like, well then, see, there's another thing where people have to either gacha for a 4-star weapon or just straight out pull for her signature weapon. And her signature weapon has a lot of pros going for it. I'm not saying any of these things are bad. They are good items. She's a good character. The polearm is amazing, but it's just so much is riding on it, meaning that if you can get the polearm for your Hu Tao, you're going to get a huge bonus, meaning that the incentive is right there in front of you. Especially with the up and coming banner, people are going to want to go for one. Staff of Homa is notorious for bankrupting people's wallets, and that is not because it looks cool, it's because it's a great weapon and there's a lot of incentives to pull for that weapon. Going even further beyond that, Hu Tao's playstyle demands you to put in time and effort, muscle memory, repetition to master. She is not a plug and play character. On top of that, her pyro domain, if you still have any shred of humanity with you, which I hope you guys do, you should not be farming that domain. You should be farming the emblem domain so you can get her Shimenawa set, which, you know, I would give that to be a plus. A character that can use either the Shimenawa set or the emblem set should be a plus, because farming that domain is incredibly resin efficient. I mean, you guys can agree or disagree with me. Feel free to comment down below, like, Walrus, I hate that domain. But in my honest opinion, before the emblem domain was out, even farming Hu Tao's artifacts were just a huge pain in the ass, because that domain, the Lava Walker, like, how many people even know what the hell the Lava Walker is? Nobody uses that artifact. Till this day, no one uses it. Maybe in Natlan, right? Maybe in Natlan, the Lava Walker might make a comeback. But my point being, back in the day, gearing up Hu Tao was a tall task. It wasn't easy. It was not linear. There's so much work to be put in. Yet people did it. And they did it willingly, knowing that she was a top tier character. Yes, by all accounts, when she was released, I believe at the time Hu Tao was a top 5, if not a top 3 character in the game. Fast forward to now, that is no longer the case. We have so many great options available. And yes, I'm saying this to you as a Hu Tao main who has had her name card sitting here for the longest time. I love this character. You can say I adore this character. I find her playstyle incredibly fun, but that doesn't mean I'm going to oversell that to you guys. The biggest downside of Hu Tao that I've noticed is that people can't seem to agree what is the bare minimum for this character. And that's really the summary that I'm getting at here for you guys. Is you can ask 5 different Hu Tao players and they'll all likely give you different thresholds of building Hu Tao. Maybe some will coincide. Maybe some will say like, oh yeah, if you can afford C1, get C1 and you can run her with a free-to-play weapon. Others will say if you can get her and her weapon, then you can keep her at C0 because her damage is the same, just master jump canceling. It's crazy. Others would say she's great at C0 with a free-to-play weapon. It's crazy how differentiated a lot of people are when it comes to Hu Tao as a character. And you know why that is? It's because they're all correct. Pretty BS, right? This is one of the things that it's very difficult even for a theory crafter to come in and tell you guys the answer, because how are theory crafters supposed to evaluate whether animation canceling is, let's say, something that is integral to a player's decision to play a character? And I'm assuming if theory crafters were to come in here, they're going to base Hu Tao's performance off of if you're animation canceling, because that's the optimal way to play her. Meaning that if you're going to play Hu Tao, then you have to animation cancel, right? By the theory crafters. So if you guys trust theory crafters, then you have to animation cancel as Hu Tao, which means that it's not whether you want to or not. You have to. And if you're playing Hu Tao without animation canceling, no one is saying you can't beat the game. You can still beat the game. It's just, I would say, half of the fun of you've been playing Hu Tao is locked behind animation canceling and combo sequencing by doing 2 dash cancel into a jump cancel, but then that's locked behind C1, meaning you're stuck in a perpetual jump cancel motion if you're playing her at C0. And there are people that I know who swears by C0 Hu Tao. No one can come to a conclusion when it comes to what and how you should be building your Hu Tao, which leads people to always evaluate this character with different sets of gears. Some people will be playing a C1 R1 Hu Tao saying she is like a top 5 character in the game, hands down, she's amazing. Other people will be playing a C0 R1 Hu Tao saying she is one of the best characters in the game and you should definitely pull for her, she's amazing. There will be a C0 free-to-play Hu Tao player saying, you know, she's alright. And you probably shouldn't go too deep into this character. I kind of regret pulling for her actually. Stuff like that. No other character in the game really has this big of a disparity when it comes to investment versus output. And for that reason, I believe why Hu Tao likely currently may be one of the most overrated characters in the game. For stat to end the video, take a wild guess, what is the percentage of usage when it comes to Hu Tao in the Spiral Biz? For all this excitement and hype, she should be a top used character, right? Do you think she's a top 10 used character, top 15 used character? What's your call? And if you watch all the way to the end of the video, make sure to write boo in your comments. That is boo with a B-O-O. Thank you guys so much for watching. I mean, if you're pulling for Hu Tao, I still wish you the best of luck. Don't let these videos deter you. I'm just telling you guys to not really buy into the blind hype of a character. So until next time, Rejoice, stay safe, peace, and bye.